In this video, we'll continue our exploration of detailed process mapping and specifically take a look at value stream maps. It's not really the intention of this video to go into exhaustive detail on value stream maps. Whole books, multi-day programs are set aside in our black belt curriculum for it. But I do want to introduce the idea of a value stream map, and the specific learning objectives are going to be to define what is a value stream, to take a look at the elements that make up any value stream map and the layering that is associated with the value stream map. We'll practice reading and interpreting what is contained inside a value stream map, and then we'll spend a little bit of time taking a look at some of the problems with using value stream maps in process improvement projects. So what is a value stream anyway? In their 2003 book called Learning to See, the authors Rother and Shook really introduced to the world what value stream mapping is about. And let me pull up what they said. There's an awful lot of words right there, but let me paraphrase for you. Here's what I use when describing what a value stream is. It's typically something that is a view that's macro level. It's not just the tasks that a single individual performs, it's the linked together set of actions that are needed. It's customer centric. It starts with a customer request, and then it goes through all of the steps and activities needed to fulfill that request. It's almost always a single product family or a single service family. It's not a picture that shows all of the activities of the entire organization. It is focused on the fulfillment of one particular type of needs that a particular type of customer is looking for. All value stream maps, if done well, should include the following things. The map should show the raw materials that are necessary to fulfill the request. It should show all of the information flows that are required, and it should also show the resources that are needed at each step to fulfill this customer request. Also included with this, I didn't even put it down as a bullet, but all process maps should show process flows too. When it comes to value stream mapping nowadays, many organizations have taken the interpretations from the Learning to See text and modified it to meet their own industry or their own organizational needs. But in a classic value stream map, you're going to see a number of things. One is it'll be a 3-layer map. It'll have unique symbols, and there'll be a counterclockwise layout to the map. Let's break down each one of those, and then we'll dive into a specific example. The concept of layering or having a simple map at the first level, followed by a transparency overlay at the second level of additional information, and then a third layer on top of that with your final detailed info, all stacked together, flattened out so that it turns into one big map, is a great way to break down complex process flows. At the first layer, it's the process flows. These are the set of steps and activities that are needed to fulfill a customer request. It's in essence your high-level process map. The next layer that is placed on top of a value stream map is information flows. Now, sometimes this information could be electronic information that's sent via an email or a database query. It could be more manual information, a receipt. We lay the information flows on top of the process flows to have a deeper understanding of what's going on inside the system. At the third layer, we include the resources that are needed. It could be the machinery or the components or the special technology that's needed. We layer all three of these items, one on top of the other, to create our detailed map. Now let's take a look at what are the symbols. And I'm going to bring this down. I think what you're going to notice from these symbols is that they're all pretty new to what we've been discussing. Well, there are a couple that you might have seen before, like the standard rectangle to describe a cycle time process step. Just about everything else looks a little bit different. These were symbols that were developed in the Learning to See text to help better describe manufacturing, production-based activity. This is not the exhaustive list. There are also more service-based value stream mapping symbols, but the moral of the story here is that there are a lot of unique symbols that may be new to you, your team, or the organization when you're reading and interpreting a value stream process map. Now let's look at how those are laid out into the final map itself. And there is what your final map looks like. We're going to zoom in on this in just a moment so that I can share with you some strategies on how you read and interpret the map. But the moral of the story, I guess, is that the map looks a little bit different than what we're used to seeing for more traditional process mapping techniques. That is what a value stream map looks like. Now let's take a look at how we read and interpret the map. All right, now I'm pulling an image that comes from the Business Process Improvement Workbook. This is a completed value stream map of the single serving salad production that occurs at a particular food processing facility. The first thing that I wanted to share with you when you're looking at a value stream map is that most value stream maps are a current state and future state view of the process, or current condition and to be condition. In this example, we're taking a look at the current condition. The second thing to consider when you're looking at a value stream map is it's a macro level view. Typically, in the middle of a value stream map, you should see the process steps that are your traditional high-level process map. And we can see here we've got prep ingredients, we've got assemble salads, label containers, place and load, and ship. This looks an awful lot like your high-level process map. Then there's information above and information below. The information above and the information below start to represent some of the layers that are in this three-layer map. So right in the middle are your process flows. The information above, well, this is your information flows. Could be electronic, it could be manual, it could be interactions within the facility or interactions upstream between the customer and the facility or the supplier and the facility. Below your process flows in the middle, it's going to contain all of the resources needed. These are the resources needed to fulfill each one of the process steps. You also typically include some time elements because most value stream maps show the overall process as a time metric. Total lead time in the system is a very commonly calculated value in a value stream map. So you've got resources and time down at the bottom. 3 layers all sandwiched together. But there's more. Value stream maps also typically contain information about what you'd like to attack in the to be condition. So in this current condition, we've got these small starbursts are small Kaizen event opportunities that have been identified to help us improve overall flow and improve overall performance in this system. A value stream map not only shows the process steps, the information flows, and the resources needed to fulfill a customer request, it also shows some of the projects that we'd like to implement to help improve the process itself. And now what I'd like to do is clean up the screen a little bit and show you how when you're reading and interpreting the map, we typically move in a counterclockwise fashion. When I'm given a value stream map to interpret, almost always what I will do is I'll focus my eyes in the upper right-hand corner because it's usually in this upper right-hand corner where a customer request is made. We then follow the almost always information flows that move through the facility to help fulfill that customer request. Some of those info flows are going to be manual. Others, typically shown with the lightning bolt, are electronic. And these information flows are then sent to particular process steps. So if beginning with a customer request is up here, and as we move through our information flows, here is processing step 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. After that last step is done, usually most value stream maps end with a fulfilled customer request at the end, sort of a closed loop from beginning of request to order fulfillment. Below each one of the steps, it shows me typically the resources needed at each step, as well as the time associated with fulfilling each step. And at the end of the time area, you'll have the total lead time in the system and then the value added time in the system, which is typically a tiny fraction of the total lead time. But it is a counterclockwise movement that is not intuitive to some people at first. The final thing that I'm looking at in most current condition or current state value stream maps are all of these stars. They represent Kaizen event opportunities. In some ways, a value stream map, if it's not being used to help diagnose the process, it's being used as a project identification and selection tool by senior management. So before we go through this laundry list of issues with value stream mapping, I want to be clear. Many organizations use value stream maps extremely effectively. It is a very popular tool, and if it's working for you and your organization, I think that's great. That said, there are a few issues that you should be aware of if you're considering using value stream mapping. And one of them is if you're outside of a manufacturing industry, there's still a pretty significant learning curve that people within service industries have with the use of value stream maps. The symbols are different, the reading and interpreting the counterclockwise motion, and the idea of thinking about value streams or these large product or service families is a little bit newer. It's not that it can't be done. It can, and there are lots of service industries that are using value stream maps effectively. Lots of great value stream mapping textbooks that focus on service industries too. So, but there's a learning curve. I think the key piece there is there's still a learning curve. All value stream maps are supposed to show a macro level view, but what if your process improvement project isn't a macro level? What if it is a much smaller initiative where you need to be much more microscopic and granular in the details of the activities going on? A value stream map might not fit there. On the flip side, sometimes you are working on a set of initiatives that are bigger than a unique product and service family, and a value stream map is really meant just for a single product or service family. I had mentioned already that the symbols are a little bit new and unique, and that doesn't mean that they can't be used. It just means that team members and others in the organization are going to experience a learning curve to it. Earlier, we walked through the counterclockwise reading that typically takes place because of that 3 layers of information, process, and resources flow. So there's a bit of a learning curve in that counterclockwise manner. And the last 2 are really about project identification and selection. If you're using a value stream map in that manner to select and identify projects, that typically means that you're going to have not just process analysts and process improvement specialists, but also senior managers be familiar with how to read and interpret a value stream map. And they can, but there is a learning curve associated with that. The last thing related to project selection, though, is that in many organizations, your project identification and selection includes more than just process improvement projects where you're looking at a problem and do not yet know what the solution is. You often in project identification and selection are also throwing into the pool of possible opportunities solution known projects, new product development projects, and these non-process improvement projects are hard to show in a value stream map and may require the use of additional tools or different techniques for project selection. Value stream maps, extremely popular detailed process mapping tool, can help in certain circumstances, is a tool that you'll want to consider when you're analyzing current state, trying to understand the set of activities and flows that are happening.